And welcome everybody to another edition of the GSMC Football Podcast brought to you by the GSMC Sports Network. As always, I'm your host Kenneth Grunfelder, and it's great to have you guys here on this Tuesday, April 16th. We have a lot to talk about on the show today. Before I get into that, I just want to remind you guys, as always, to tip or donate and get your comments recognized, make sure to go to the following link. That is Stream Elements. Nope, GSMCpodcast.net. Again, that really helps the show, makes the show more interactive between myself, the host, and you guys, the viewers. Again, that is GSMCpodcast.net. And as always, is displayed on the ticker at the bottom of the show segment down below. So with that being said, let's get into what we are going to talk about for today. So we're going to start off the show. We're going to talk about a couple things, a couple of contract extensions. DeVonta Smith, we'll talk about his contract extension, DeForest Buckner's contract extension of the Indianapolis Colts, as well as getting into Jordan Love and what his contract could look like, because it seems that the Packers are gearing up to give him a big contract as well. So we'll get into all that in just a second. Then in the second part of the show, we'll talk about Justin Jefferson and CeeDee Lamb. Those are two guys that are looking for new deals, as I've talked about over the course of really the last month or so. And we'll get into how they're not attending voluntary workouts and whether or not that's a big deal or not. So we'll talk about that. Then in the third part of the show, we'll talk about a pair of Vegas Raiders. We'll talk about Max Crosby and Davante Adams and some of the things that they have had to say. So that'll be the third part of the show. And then in the final part of the show, we'll talk about Daniel Jones, him addressing the media, talking about his rehab from his torn ACL. And that'll be a giant segment to end off the show. So, with that being said, let's get into the first topic, which is discussing DeVonta Smith, DeForest Buckner, and Jordan Love. So we'll get into DeVonta Smith. So, he agreed to a contract extension with the Eagles worth up to $75 million. This takes him through the 2028 season with $51 million guaranteed. And he's been a productive player for the Eagles, 2,262 receiving yards and 14 touchdowns in the past two seasons with minimal injuries. And he's becoming a leader in that locker room. And he's going to become more important with now Jason Kelce and Fletcher Cox both retiring. And now the Eagles have two highly paid receivers, with A.J. Brown being the other receiver as well. Combined Smith and Brown's contracts amount to $175 million, making them one of the highest paid wide receiver duos in the league. Brown's projected cap space for 2025 is $26.5 million, currently the highest on the team. While the finances seem to be fine for now, with Smith's extension and Jalen Hurts' rising cap figure, the team might feel financial pressure in the future. Saquon Barkley's addition to the team adds another star player to the offense, and also, he's making a lot of money too. Nick Sirianni, their head coach, emphasized the importance of building team chemistry and support among players, regardless of individual statistics or contract values. So the Eagles, they locked up one of their big playmakers, and that's huge for them. You got Saquon Barkley locked up, you got A.J. Brown locked up. Jalen Hurts, his cap hit is going to start to increase. So yeah, offensively, or at least on the offensive side of the ball, Eagles are making they got a lot of players making a lot of money. So, but this is good though that they locked up another one of their receivers, and they're gearing up for a rebound in 2024. You hope that they're able to. Well, I'm not saying a lot of people are hoping for that, but Eagle fans are definitely hoping for that. And again, I've talked about this on previous shows. This team is incredibly talented. They got a lot of playmakers on the offensive side of the ball. They're looking to rebound on defense too, because towards the end of last season it was pretty rough. And I like what they've done on that side of the ball as well. They signed a few defenders to help improve that side of the ball. Also, again, changing coordinators on both sides of the ball. So, again, I'm expecting a rebound from the Eagles. And, DeVonta Smith has been a productive wide receiver for them. And I think the best thing for the Eagles was getting A.J. Brown, because that just made everybody better. Made DeVonta Smith better, made Jalen Hurts, of course, better. So, yeah, he got paid, and he's going to be sticking around, and that's huge. So expect big things from this wide receiver duo in 2024. So they locked him up. Now we go to the next contract extension, and that is DeForest Buckner of the Indianapolis Colts. So it's a 2-year contract extension, and it's worth up to $46 million. The extension comes while Buckner was entering the final year of his initial 4-year deal, which was worth $84 million with the Colts, which was signed right after he was traded from the San Francisco 49ers. Buckner is now 30 years old. He's recognized as one of the premier interior defenders in the league. And, he's known for people double teaming him and excelling against the run. And the 49ers probably miss him. But at the time, they had to part ways with him and trade him. He's been a key player in Gus Bradley's defensive scheme in Indianapolis, earning Pro Bowl nods and a first-team All-Pro selection in 2020. Buckner has been incredibly durable, not missing a game in the past 3 seasons, and is capable of playing all 3 downs effectively. The extension averages $23 million per year in new money, ranking him 7th among active interior defenders. Over his career, he has 61 sacks, 544 tackles, 80 tackles for loss, and 161 quarterback hits in 8 seasons. The extension aligns with the Colts' strategy of re-signing or extending key players, with Buckner being one of the 10 to receive such treatment. Michael Pittman was one of them. They also re-signed guys in the secondary as well. So the Colts have done a good job this offseason retaining their own players, and Buckner is one of them, obviously. And like I said, 49ers, I think, missed this guy. Because, we saw how the 49ers kind of struggled against the run in the playoffs. And, they definitely could use him. But they unfortunately at the time had to part ways with him and trade him. So now he's with the Colts. And the Colts are going to be a good team in 2024. I think they will be. Again, they're going to be a part of that AFC South, which is going to be competitive. And, looking forward to the matchups within that division. And looking for a full year of Anthony Richardson as well. So, they got another one of their key guys signed. And, let's see what they can do in 2024. So now, the last guy I wanted to talk about was Jordan Love. And the Packers are going to be gearing up to give him a big contract. According to ESPN's Jeremy Fowler, the Packers are committed to getting a deal with Love done, and making him the future franchise quarterback, the long-term franchise quarterback. So he signed a 1-year bridge deal last offseason instead of exercising his 5th-year option, which would have been worth over $20 million, but fully guaranteed. The bridge deal lowered Love's guaranteed money, but allowed him to potentially earn more through incentives and keep him under contract through the 2024 season. Love, of course, coming off of a solid first year as a starter, as the full-time starter with the Packers, 4,100 yards passing, 32 touchdowns, and, of course, a playoff appearance for the Packers, and getting a playoff win against the Dallas Cowboys. Love's next contract would make him a top 10, highest-paid quarterback in the league, and he would likely command around $40 to $50 million a year. Contract negotiations are expected to take some time, with both parties willing to wait until after May 3rd to finalize the deal. Green Bay's general manager, Brian Gutekunst, emphasized the importance of doing the negotiations the right way. So it's a matter of when, not if, Jordan Love is going to get paid, and rightfully so. I did say that you want to see him do it again over the course of a full season, because, again, the Packers had a roller coaster of a season. Got off to a good start, then they looked like they were going to be, they were playing like one of the worst teams in football. And then they got it going, and they rode that momentum all the way to the playoffs, and they beat the Cowboys in the playoffs, and they had the 49ers. They had them. And unfortunately, they couldn't get it done, and they ended up losing in the divisional round. But Jordan Love, towards the end of the year, really played well. Was playing like one of the best quarterbacks in the NFL. I mean, his signature win, I think, besides the playoff game, was probably that game against the Chiefs in Lambeau. And it was Sunday Night Football against Patrick Mahomes and the defending champs, and Jordan Love rose to the occasion, played really well, and they won that game. Now, what ended up happening after that is they ended up losing to the Giants and the Buccaneers, and you thought, well, looks like the Packers are not making the playoffs after all, but they ended up getting things right and getting in and winning a playoff game, which was unbelievable. And now next year, in 2024, expectations are higher. The offseason moves that they made, I like a lot. Xavier McKinney, Josh Jacobs. This team's ready to compete, for the division in the NFC North, and they're looking to get back to the playoffs, which I think this team is a playoff team. They got a very young team, and I think they're going to continue to grow, and they're going to take another step forward in 2024, you hope. And I think they will. Now, again, I look at the Lions as probably the best team in the division still, but the Packers are right there with them. They're really going to give them a run for their money. So it's going to be a lot of fun when those two teams match up against each other. They split the season series last year with the Lions winning in Lambeau and the Packers winning in Detroit last season. Well, on Thanksgiving. That's what I meant to say. I know it's last season. That's what I was talking about. So I'm really looking forward to that. That should be a lot of fun. And yeah, I think Jordan Love, he deserves to get that big contract. So we'll have to wait and see on that. Like I said, it doesn't seem like it's going to happen right now, but at some point in the near future, it will happen. So we'll keep our eyes on that. But let me know what you guys think about these extensions and this soon-to-be contract extension for Jordan Love. But yeah, I mean, with these three teams here, well, with these three players and their respective teams, I mean, they're all going to be in the mix for the playoffs. They should. 2 out of the 3 did make the playoffs. One of them just missed the playoffs. So, but I expect all 3 of these teams to be in the mix. So, and they're going to be re-signing key guys, or already have or are going to. I mean, one of them's a receiver, one of them's a interior defensive lineman, and then the other is a franchise quarterback. So, Jordan Love eventually will be joining DeVonta Smith and DeForest Buckner as getting his own contract extension. And again, it's a matter of when, not if. So, we will keep our eyes on that as, again, we're getting closer and closer to the draft. And, every team is going to be addressing some needs in this upcoming draft. And can't wait. Can't wait. We did have we had the WNBA draft last night. Caitlin Clark went number 1 overall. I don't think that was a surprise. But before we know it, NFL draft is going to be coming up. So, can't wait for that. So, when we come back from our first break of the show, we're going to talk about some other wide receivers. We're going to talk about CeeDee Lamb and Justin Jefferson. They did not attend voluntary workouts. So, we'll get into that, whether that's a big deal or not. So, that is what we will get into when we come back from our first break of the show. So, with that being said, stick around, and we'll be right back here on the GSMC Football Podcast.